Oh my God, what else could possibly go wrong? The worst period of my life seems to have no end. Surely things can't be this bad. There has to be a turning point somewhere. Work has become a daily struggle for survival, and the person I trusted most is causing me the most grief. I guess I should explain how it all started. I, Jim Anderson, met my wife Kate on my first day at Chasem Engineering. I was 18 years old and nervous about starting work a few weeks after graduating high school. Accelerated program. I was a good student and could have gone to college, but I knew it wasn't for me. I was tired of school, and my parents couldn't afford to support me through 3 years of college. Kate was a human resources assistant who helped new employees settle into the company, and she was stunningly beautiful. It took me 3 months to work up the courage to ask her out on a date. I was sure she would turn me down, and all I could think about was how gently she would do it. But she didn't turn me down. She agreed and asked where we wanted to go. I was so sure she would turn me down that I hadn't even thought about where we would go. 20 years have passed, and amazingly, we are both still working at the same company and have been happily married for 18 years. I head up the project management team, and Kate has had a meteoric career and is now the human resources director at a large machine manufacturing plant. Everything was perfect. We had 2 wonderful children, Amy, 16, and Jack, 14, who were doing well in school. We had a beautiful home and a comfortable lifestyle. John Newcomb had been my best friend since elementary school. In high school, we became friends with Rob Turner, and a few years later, Rob's younger brother Paul joined us. Paul was the only single guy in our group. Everyone else was married, and our wives were close, having known each other for many years. Paul was more focused on his career than the rest of us. I recommended him to our company and was very happy when he was hired as director of operations. It was a very well-paid job, and we celebrated the occasion. Paul said he was surprised to get the job, as Old Man Chisholm had been very strict with him during the interview. 6 months later, the 4 of us were having a beer on Friday night when I mentioned that Kate had been acting strange and distracted lately. I brought it up because I believed that the other wives might have said something to my friends, especially if it was related to her health. No one said anything. Everyone was concerned and agreed that it was very unusual for Kate. I admitted that I had had thoughts about her cheating. The guys didn't believe it could be true, but they asked what had made me think that. It was hard to explain, other than that something was off. Paul hadn't said anything before, but suddenly he started defending my wife fiercely, saying that he worked with Kate and she would never look at another man. Moreover, I was a complete idiot if I believed she was capable of such a thing. It was almost a tirade. I thought it was very strange. Paul was defending her too fiercely. When I looked around, I wasn't the only one who was surprised. I remembered that he often flirted with Kate, joked around a lot, and touched her lightly, and since they had been working at the firm, they had gone on several business trips together. I looked at him, trying to make sense of it all. He didn't answer, but he started to look guilty and was very agitated. Rob knew him best and noticed it too. He looked at his younger brother. "Please tell me you're not that stupid." At that moment, I almost shouted, "So when did you start sleeping with my wife?" Chaos ensued. We both stood up. I tried to attack him. John and Rob struggled to pull us apart. Rob dragged his younger brother outside and told him to get out. "But I'm your brother." "I mean it. Get out of here before I beat you half to death. You're a stupid, arrogant bastard." John and Rob tried to explain to me that things weren't as bad as I thought, and that I needed to talk to Kate to find out the truth. I agreed and wandered home. When I got there, Kate was sitting at the kitchen table crying. "I understand Paul called to warn you. Is it true?" Kate didn't deny it, but she downplayed it, saying it wasn't a romance. Apparently, they had messed around while on a business trip together. I knew enough to understand that messed around meant sex. She swore it was a one-time thing when they were drunk, but I didn't believe her. Rob cared deeply about her, and I felt there was more to this than met the eye. I admit I reacted too harshly. I didn't care if it was once or 100 times, cheating is cheating, and I was completely devastated. Kate couldn't explain her actions or her reasons, and all her apologies seemed meaningless. In the months that followed, we broke up and decided to get a divorce, which was bad enough. But to make matters worse, Kate started dating Paul again. This pretty much confirmed my suspicions that it wasn't just a one-time fling. We stopped going to the pub with John and Rob. It was awkward since their wives were friends with Kate. They invited me, but I wasn't in the mood for company, and I didn't have much money. Besides, I believed they would all stay together, especially considering that Paul was Rob's brother. Losing my wife to one of my best friends was a truly awful experience. I felt like I had divorced my entire life. Kate got custody of our 2 children and kept our house. I knew Paul was spending time there, but despite that, I continued to pay half the mortgage and child support. All I could afford was a small, run-down apartment in a bad part of town. It was bad for the kids. They didn't want to stay with me and wanted to spend time with their friends, who all lived near our old house. At first, I would take them for the whole day, spending all my savings on trips that we had all loved and taken regularly since they were little. Then scheduling conflicts began. They would go into town with Kate and Paul, then on a school trip, then stay with friends. The list of excuses was endless. In the end, I hardly saw them for the last 2 months and missed them terribly. If it weren't for their sports, I probably would have lost touch with them completely. I always went to their sporting events and coached them both in soccer. Kate never went, preferring to spend time on herself, but now she and Paul went to everything. During halftime at Amy's soccer game, I asked Kate why she was there. She got upset, saying that they were her children. You didn't care before. I believed that after our breakup, it would be better for the children if I supported them. If you're doing this for them and not for yourself or to prove something, you wouldn't do something so petty as trying to hurt me with your boyfriend. Don't make me laugh. We broke up and I'm not interested in you anymore. With that, she snuggled up to Paul. I left, biting my lip for the umpteenth time. Work was torture. I had to endure constant encounters with Kate and Turner. The worst part was the endless snide remarks from the guys on his team. They seemed to enjoy teasing me. I knew they were waiting for me to react, and it was hard to keep my anger in check. Fortunately, my team saved me, especially a new employee named Josh. He was a former military man in his early 20s who had lost both his legs. He didn't explain what had happened to him, so I didn't ask. Depending on the severity of the pain, he used prosthetic legs or shorter versions that he called shorties. He was very reserved and quiet, mostly keeping to himself, but when it came to logistics, he was a true Jedi master. I've never known anyone who could remember so much information and respond so effectively to complex changes. Once, I was surprised when he quietly asked me how I was coping with all the crap. I tried to tell him about my problems and misfortunes, but immediately felt stupid considering everything he had been through. He looked at me with a serious expression and said, "It all comes down to a simple choice. Get busy living or get busy dying." Is that what they taught you in the Army? He started laughing uncontrollably. No, that's too deep. I stole that quote from the Shawshank Redemption. In the British infantry, it would be, "Just do your job, idiot." I laughed with him, realizing I hadn't laughed like that in months. Finally, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel when Marie, the company accountant, asked me out on a date. I wasn't even thinking about dating, and she caught me off guard. I had known her for several years and knew she was divorced. She was a wonderful person. We went on a few dates before Kate found out. I heard rumors that Kate had called her a slut, but I couldn't prove anything. Marie came over to meet the kids, but they behaved terribly. First, they ignored her, then they repeated their mother's opinion of her. I was shocked by their behavior and told them so. Marie was very gentle and very upset. But despite my apologies, she insisted on leaving. I told the children to go home to their mother, and I struggled to contain my anger. I called Marie many times, and when she finally answered, she explained that she didn't want to cause problems in my family and that it was better to end the relationship now than later. I was completely stunned. I believed that it was over, no matter how hard I tried to do the right thing. I was knocked off my feet. I could have given up. But then I remembered Josh's words. I was trying to find something positive in my life when Amy told me that Paul had promised to buy her a car and driving lessons for her 17th birthday. I was furious, but I told her we needed to discuss it with her mom first. Amy stormed out again. I called Kate and asked how my 16-year-old daughter was going to buy a car without telling me. You know I wanted to teach the kids to drive, and I definitely don't want her to have a car yet. Why not? It's sweet of Paul. Don't be upset just because you can't afford it. So, you'll be happy when she's driving around with her friends to parties? Do you have any idea how many accidents happen with kids that age? I wanted to teach Amy to drive gradually. Just let her use our cars until she's older and we can trust her. Oh, well, I didn't think of that. I guess that would be scary. Since when do I not have a say in decisions about the kids in favor of your boyfriend? I'm their guardian? That's not true. We're both guardians. You just have custody. Soon you'll be telling me that bastard wants to adopt them. Don't make me laugh. I agree we should have asked you first. I'll tell her we're not going to do it. Great. So I'm the villain again who deprived her of buying a car, and Paul is the hero. Are you two deliberately trying to drive a wedge between me and Amy? Or is this just your talent? Of course not. Paul is just trying to support you and get closer to the kids. Tell him to back off. He has you and apparently my kids. But I'm their father. I have a right to be involved in these decisions. I'm sorry, okay? Those words didn't match her contemptuous tone. How many times are you going to apologize for your selfish decisions? Try changing your behavior. Believe in someone other than yourself. You and Turner are definitely meant for each other. You're like two halves of a whole. What is that supposed to mean? You sound jealous, Jim. You're the one who dumped me, remember? If it weren't for you, we'd still be making these decisions together. You ruined everything. There's no point in talking about it again. We have to do what's best for the kids. I don't want them to be spoiled. They need to earn a living and be independent. Amy can get a part-time job if she wants to save up for a car, and we'll help her. Instead of just handing her everything on a silver platter. I was angry at Kate for her remark about not being able to afford to help. That was because I was still paying the mortgage and child support. It was especially infuriating considering that Turner seemed to be spending a lot of time there. Trying to reason with Kate was like banging my head against a wall over and over with the same result. I gathered all my money and decided I could afford it. I called Kate to make sure the kids would be there on Friday so I could pick them up for the weekend. What a surprise. They had planned a trip and forgotten to tell me. I had to threaten her with legal action before she agreed that I could come over on Friday to see them before they left on Saturday afternoon. I stood in our old kitchen, remembering the happy days when the kids sat at the table and Kate stood at the counter, just like she used to. I suggested the vacation we had been planning as a family for years, a trip through Europe in the summer. Amy wanted to see as many European capitals as possible, and Jack wanted to go rock climbing on a Via Ferrata and do extreme sports in the Alps. It wouldn't be cheap, but I was willing to spend everything I had and borrow the rest. The kids were thrilled and started discussing all the places we could visit. Finally, a positive response. They reacted just as I had hoped. I noticed that Kate was looking at me thoughtfully. This was supposed to be our family vacation, Jim. We planned it together. Well, now we can't go together, and this is probably our last chance before Amy goes on vacation with her friends. At that moment, Paul walked into the kitchen like a boss. Jack excitedly told him about the trip. Paul nodded and said it sounded great, then added, "I'm sure we can take a vacation another time." All three turned to him at once and asked, "What vacation?" "Well, I was thinking about a summer trip across the United States. You can choose the route, but it could include Disney, then a flight to the West Coast, Los Angeles, and the Pacific Coast Highway. Amy interrupted him. Oh my gosh, that would be an amazing trip. Can we stop in New York? Why not? We could stay there for a few days to break up the flight back to England. Jack immediately bombarded him with questions about Universal Studios and whether they could visit Busch Gardens or Six Flags, as he loved all the extreme rides. At that moment, I had never hated a person so much. He knew he had me in his power. I couldn't insist on a less exciting trip when they were so excited. I got up and left the kitchen, wondering if anyone had noticed my absence. I had only just reached the car door when Kate caught up with me. Jim, I'm so sorry your trip was canceled. Answer me honestly, Kate. Is this the first you've heard of this trip? Yes, I believed Paul hadn't had time to tell us. I'm so sorry it doesn't fit in with your plans. God, Kate, you're not that stupid. He just made it up on the spot, and I can guarantee you nothing has been booked. He's taking my kids away, and you're helping him. What did I do to deserve this? I'm sure it's just an innocent coincidence. Finally, I plucked up the courage. You always apologize and then do the same thing, so here's what's going to happen. Tell your boyfriend that the next time I have the slightest problem with access to the children or with not being allowed to participate in their upbringing, I'll take it up with him directly. Are you threatening us, Jim? Talking to you is like pissing in the wind, so yes, I'm trying a different approach and I'm prepared to live with the consequences. You won't hurt us? Maybe you won't, although you deserve to, but he'll answer for everything. You both need to think carefully before putting someone in a position where they have nothing to lose, which is exactly where you've put me. I looked up and saw Paul standing in the doorway. I almost expected him to lunge at me. He was bigger than me, but he just went back into the house. I saw disappointment on Kate's face, but she quickly hid it. See, a real man doesn't resort to threats of violence. No, he seems to be running away. I calmed down and looked at Kate. Are you trying to win their love and push me away? They're my children, not his. I consider myself a good father. You should want me to be involved in their lives, not playing these pathetic games. Kate seemed to lose her voice. This isn't supposed to be a competition, but let's face it. You won, I lost. You got the house, the money, our friends, a rich guy, and the kids. Your victory doesn't mean I have to lose every time, Kate. The old Kate would have figured that out long before I did. She just stood there with her mouth open, not saying a word. For God's sake, I give up. I want to talk to the kids tomorrow without this jerk. I jumped in the car and drove away, leaving Kate standing there looking like a goldfish. I made sure Turner wasn't there before going in. The kids were sitting on the couch in our old living room, looking like it was a huge effort for them, and Kate was standing in the doorway. Don't worry, I won't take much of your time. No one answered, but Jack managed to glance at me. I know the breakup is hard for both of you, and I wanted to remind you how much I love you. Your mom loves you too, and that will never change. Kate was surprised that I mentioned her. But I don't know what's going on with you. I hardly recognize you lately. You're wonderful kids, but now you've got this arrogant attitude like you don't like anything. I love you very much, but I deserve better than lies. If you want to live with your mom and Paul, I'll leave. If you want stuff and expensive vacations, Paul is your man. I'm not going to come over every weekend to listen to your stupid excuses about how busy you are. Kate tried to interrupt him. I don't believe that. Yes, I've heard enough about what you believe, and I'm talking to my children possibly for the last time. I can't buy you what he buys you, but I still want to spend time with both of you, play sports, go camping, do whatever you want. I know it's not Florida or anything like that, but we'll be together, and you'll both be going to college very soon. Still no reaction, just awkwardness and nervousness. The way you treated Marie is unforgivable. What right do you have to treat a person like that? We didn't raise you that way. I've never been so ashamed of my family. I hope you're all happy. She doesn't want anything to do with me." Kate replied irritably, "Well, she wasn't good enough, she—" "Really, Kate, what did she do to you? She's a wonderful person, and all she did was agree to go out with me. You were a terrible lover when we were married, and I never complained. But good job. You scared her away. Now she has to worry about my crazy ex-wife and kids." I grimaced, realizing what I had said and that I was swearing in front of the children. Both Amy and Jack looked shocked. This information seemed to be a revelation to them. I turned to Kate. "And one more thing. Thanks to Turner rubbing my nose in my lack of money, I checked with child support. And they think I should have been putting some of my alimony toward the mortgage, so you should expect a review and adjustment. Maybe this crazy lover will step up and pay for the house he seems to be living in." Her voice trailed off, and Kate looked like a goldfish again, the kids looking no better. It seemed I wasn't going to get an answer from any of them. Disappointed, I got up again, muttered something about letting me know, and left. I returned to my cramped apartment and wondered if I could afford to move. I forgot to tell Kate that my lawyer had advised me to continue paying the mortgage and reduce the alimony. That would guarantee a roof over my children's heads, but he believed it could be a good investment, as real estate prices were rising rapidly. And when Jack left home in a few years, she would either have to sell the house or buy out my share. The phone rang. It was Amy. I wondered what ordeal awaited me next. I answered, and Amy said Jack was on speakerphone. She spoke hurriedly. "We've calculated that we owe you 6 weekends and 4 weeks of vacation, and we wanted to ask if you'd like to go on that European tour this summer after all. You could include the Black Forest in your itinerary, see the Alps, and drive through Italy." Her words came out nervously. "Do you remember those places?" "Of course, we've been talking about it for years, and it should be much warmer than Scotland." "And Dad?" "Well, we're really sorry we behaved like that. Mom never said it was her who changed. We believed it was you, and that it was probably Marie. And Paul said he paid for everything after you left us." "I don't care, as long as I get my children back." Jack joined the conversation. "You're wrong about Paul. We don't like him. He's a jerk." I tried my best not to laugh. "Jack, he made a completely different impression on you. We believed that if you didn't see us, maybe you'd come back." "That'll never happen, Jack. It's over between me and your mom. She's moved on, but I want to be there for both of you." Amy backed Jack up. "The thing is, Dad, we believe that Mom feels the same way. He's not here very often, but he shows up when you pick us up. They fight a lot and often because of you." "I find that hard to believe. Your mom was just, well, she was difficult to get along with after we broke up. I'd even say she hates me." "I don't think so, Dad. I believe she understands she made a mistake." I sat in Kate's office with a broken nose, trying not to get blood on the expensive carpet. Kate was furious when she saw me. "Jesus, Jim, fighting at work is a serious disciplinary offense. I'm going to have to fire you." "What's the big deal? Are you afraid of losing your alimony?" "It's a disgrace, grown men fighting. You realize we had to call an ambulance for Bob." "Well, he deserved it. I think I did pretty well considering there were 3 of them." "It's time to grow up, Jim. This is a complete disaster. Things are so bad that the old man is on his way." At that moment, Turner burst in. I tried not to smile when I saw his swollen lip and bruise on his cheek. He immediately started yelling that he and half his crew had been attacked, demanding that the police be called and a report filed, and that I be fired immediately. I looked at Kate. "Do you want to know what really happened before you fire me? I thought that was your job." A deep voice boomed across the room. "Yes!" I turned and saw Old Man Chisholm, the chairman of the board and founder of Chisholm Engineering. He hadn't been at the plant much lately, but he still looked imposing and powerful. It was strange to see Josh standing next to him. Turner began to explain. It was an unprovoked attack on me and two of my employees in the cafeteria. An unprovoked attack by one man on three seems a little strange, don't you think? Was that the case, Jim? Well, I guess I hit him first. But when I saw there were more of them, I didn't wait. I believed that Chisholm was struggling to suppress a smile. Kate continued. We have no choice, Jim. We have to fire you and call the police. You threatened Paul. I heard it myself. Nothing can justify an assault. Aren't you going to ask what provoked it? I assume it's because you're jealous of my relationship with Paul. No, it's months of harassment from him and the guys in his department. Paul almost choked. That's complete nonsense and a pathetic excuse. Then Josh said, I can confirm that everything Jim said is true. Paul looked at him contemptuously. Who the hell are you? If you know what's good for you, stay out of other people's business. Chisholm replied, Josh is my grandson, and I believe him, not someone like you. I recovered from my surprise, took out my phone, rewound the recording, and pressed play. Hey, Kukold, our boss is late for work today, probably having fun with your mistress. Everyone in the room felt uncomfortable. I noticed Kate looking at Turner. I rewound the recording. You know she slept with him for months before your divorce. Did you know about that? Are you one of those cuckolds who likes to watch his wife being pleasured? Kate blushed, and Turner shouted, That's complete nonsense! I rewound the tape again, and the next voice belonged to Turner. It's a shame you were so often late for work, Jim, and didn't get the manager's job. I looked at Kate. Don't you know I've never been late for work in all the time we've been working here? He blocked my access and told me to leave because it would happen every time. I rewound the recording to the moment in the cafeteria and heard Bob Marsden's voice. Paul says she's great in bed and up for anything. Once he corrupts her, we'll have a little party with all the guys, maybe even bring your cute daughter. Then there were sounds of a fight, and the recording cut off. I was responding to your last comment. You're still the mother of my children, and I mentioned Amy. Kate glared at Turner, who was fidgeting nervously. I didn't know that idiot Bob was going to say that. He just wanted to tease him. Old man Chisholm said, Officially, everyone involved in the case is suspended from work, pending the completion of the investigation and disciplinary proceedings. Unofficially, Turner, get out of my building and take your friends with you. Anyone who calls the police will never work in this industry again. You've been living on borrowed time, and it was the worst decision of my life. Don't even think about contacting me, you'll regret it. He nodded to the security guard at the door, who came in and escorted Turner out. Chisholm turned to me. Considering the circumstances, I'd say you handled it well, but you should have come to me. Go home, Jim, and clean yourself up. Kate, we need to talk. I can't believe that kind of behavior went unnoticed, even with your position in this company. As Director of Human Resources, you should have known what was going on. Tears streamed down Kate's cheeks. You know that's not true, Jim. It wasn't several months, it was once, and I regretted it as soon as it happened. I left Josh, thanked him for his support and advice, and offered to grab a pint. I'd love to, but I have a hike with my regiment on Sunday. I usually go to the mountains to get some peace and quiet, but I've been roped into some official business. No problem. Another time. Who's that old man? Your grandfather? I didn't want to talk about it and use it to my advantage. I wanted to tell him about your problems, but I decided you should find your own solution, and I'll help you later. After all, whoever bleeds for me today is my brother. I laughed. Now I know that's an old army saying if you count Shakespeare and Henry V. Josh smiled. Yeah, it's from Band of Brothers. They used it in officer training. For everyone else, it was a bit highbrow. Kate came to my apartment that evening, and I reluctantly let her in and asked what had happened with Chisholm. He confirmed that Paul and the two who participated in the fight will be fired. The other employees admitted that you harassed them and said that Paul incited them. I was reprimanded and given a final written warning. Are they going to report the fight to the police? No, the guys admitted they harassed you and want to keep it quiet. They claim it was just a misunderstanding that got out of hand. Did you talk to Turner? Did you ask him why he did it? He wanted to get rid of you because he believed I still loved you. He said the conversation was meant to provoke you and get you fired. But you didn't take the bait, you just ignored them. Is he crazy? You can't cheat, lie, and treat someone like shit if you love them. You treated me like shit for months. I'd even say you enjoyed hurting me. None of this was supposed to happen. It was a mistake. You weren't supposed to find out, and you weren't supposed to leave me. Everything went wrong. I believed that if you missed the kids and your life became unbearable, you would give me another chance. But that didn't happen. Paul wanted to make you jealous more than anything else in the world. I don't have any real feelings for him. So you acted like a bitch because you wanted me back, seriously. Take responsibility for your actions, Kate. This is all your fault. I don't know who you are. The woman I married would never have done this. She was kind and caring. Where did she go? I ruined everything when I realized you weren't coming back, and with the divorce, I decided I had to see it through. The children, our friends, and my family wouldn't believe what I had done. John and Rob refused to be in the same room with us, and I didn't see their wives and children for months. I had to prove that I could build a life with him, otherwise I would have given up everything for nothing. I had to prove that I had made the right decision and that he was the best man for me. My life with Paul had to be perfect, and the more I humiliated you, the better my decisions looked. I tried to make it seem like a romance, but it never was. He was arrogant and selfish, but by then it was too late. What a mess. And you dragged the kids into it. I'm so sorry. I should have tried to fix things, but I didn't know how. I didn't realize how it was affecting your relationship with them. Great, another apology. I heard what you said. I'll change my behavior so I don't have to apologize anymore. At least it's over with him, he's gone, and I need you, and the kids need you. They're very angry with me. I believed we could try again. I never stopped loving you. I couldn't believe it. I was so sure she hated me that it made me think. But not for long. There's no going back, Kate. Not for me. The connection and trust we had is gone. I don't want to hurt you. I'm just trying to cope and get my life back on track. On Sunday morning, I met up with John and Rob for a beer. They were giving me hell for not answering their calls and messages. I tried to explain why. The wives were close, and Paul was Rob's brother after all. Rob laughed. He's not my brother. I haven't spoken to that bastard since that night in the pub, and thank God for that, otherwise I would have smashed his head in. John explained that at first, the wives didn't see Kate very often, but now they were talking again, and Kate said she was sorry about everything. She believed that if she hadn't started seeing Paul again and had behaved more sensibly, we could have been together. I wasn't sure about that, but I was sure it was good to talk to my friends again. We started discussing other events in our lives when I happened to glance at the TV screen. There, in full Royal Rifleman's uniform, Josh was laying a wreath at a memorial in front of the royal family and the great and good people of the country. He had numerous medals hanging from his chest. I turned up the volume to hear the commentary explaining how Josh had been awarded the Victoria Cross for saving fellow soldiers under heavy fire and repeatedly returning to the scene before being wounded by a rocket. The story then moved on to describe his struggle to recover. I was shocked. I had no idea what Josh and the others had been through. My problems were nothing compared to that. In fact, contrary to what people said, once Kate stopped acting like a bitch, life was pretty good. I saw the kids more often than I had planned, plus all the sports and other activities. It was informal co-parenting. They stayed as long as they wanted and always seemed happy to see me. Child Protective Services reduced the amount I paid, offsetting my mortgage as promised. I got a promotion at work and a huge bonus. Chizam said he wanted to avoid prosecution or allegations of wrongful termination. I returned to my old hobbies and planned to travel more. I was stunned when Marie showed up at my new cottage with a patio. We hadn't spoken in months, and I didn't believe she knew where I lived. I invited her in, hesitating a little. "I'm here at the request of Amy and Jack, Jim. They apologized and explained everything. Amy said you had no one." "How did they get your number?" "I suspect Kate gave them my number. I called her and she confirmed what the kids said and said she understood that you both needed to move on." Everything was becoming unreal. "It seems like your kids and your ex-wife believe you're the best thing since sliced bread and that I'm an idiot for not going out with you."